Okay. We have sound. No big booming noises. That was cool. That's what it's doing. I'll talk about it. Let's talk about cars. How about that? So, I don't know if any one of you have ever driven a car before, but you might notice that sometimes the car doesn't work the way you want it to, perhaps. Maybe you turn something on, but it doesn't turn on, things of that nature. So really what we want to do is come up with a site that you could use to then diagnose, fix your own car, research it, understand what to do. And so essentially that's the purpose behind MyAutoMechanic, which is, well, if I want to update or kind of get something working right, well, this is where you can go. And so, really the core idea was just, build a solution. And, I can kind of walk you through it unless you guys have anything you want to add to that. Is that good? Technology. Like cars. Well, we used a number of things. So we used YouTube API, used React, as well as MongoDB for our database. Used a lot of NPM components. Too many to name, I think, in terms of everything from Passport to Passport Local to Mongoose on down. Google Maps. What else am I missing? CSS. SAS. Yeah. All right. CSS. Any other abbreviations? HTML. So essentially, this is the start of things, and I'll kind of start looking down now. And the idea is that you can come in here and begin to research your site. And by the way, it is mobile responsive, right, through React. So then you'll notice the nav bar will change locations, and as you finger through, it can then line up a little bit differently. And so then to go through each section, number one, you can search for your car problem. So when we go here, you can type in essentially your repair needs. So maybe I have a fire tire, but a flat tire, spelled properly, on my 2015 Tesla D. That's what I drive. And so if you go ahead and search, then, well, it'll come up with flat tire videos on your Tesla, and essentially how to change it, what to do. And so this component is plugged in with, of course, YouTube to give you the search results. But you also have scraping technology underneath where it combs articles from popular sites to find more automotive information in terms of what you can do for your car. So then going back a bit, if I can get to jump. Okay. So then scrolling down past that, you can also search for. Sorry, the mouse pad on Windows computers is not the best. I'm just going to put that out there. So next you can do a diagnostic tool. And essentially a diagnostic tool is meant to be sort of a self-service walkthrough of how you can diagnose what exactly is going on with your car. So it's a decision tree essentially, where you can plug in what your observations are and then help reach a solution. So for example, if something's wrong and there's perhaps smoke coming out, and then, well, the question is what kind of smoke is coming out? Was it black smoke, white smoke, etc.? Click on black smoke, and then I'll say, well, where is it coming from? Hopefully it's not coming from out the windows inside the car, right? But it's coming from the exhaust while driving. And so it'll pull up a recommendation for you. And so essentially then give you input on exactly what you should be doing. So then flipping back and continuing to roll through. You can also use a diagnostic code. So if you're not familiar with diagnostic codes, if you plug in the proper interface to your car, you can get a digit code coming out of it that helps you diagnose exactly what's going on. So if you have the wrong intake, I'm not a mechanic, but you kind of get the idea. There's different things that the car will register through its computer system. There are some hacks and shortcuts you can use technically to turn your ignition a few times and get sort of flashing lights or whatnot. We don't have a way to get the code properly through an interface, unfortunately, but if you know what your code is, you can type it in here as well as your VIN, etc. Get that information out. And then so walking through what else you have here, you can also then find mechanics in your area. So perhaps you're not interested in fixing the black smoke coming out of your tailpipe. Well, you can then look to see exactly where you are and mouse over, see exactly then who's around you from Johnson's Garage to Lloyd its tire alignment. So this is, of course, run through Google Maps to give you information on exactly where to go. Hopefully not the Chinese place, they probably can't help. And then going a little bit further, so finally, passport integration. So the idea is we want to be able to store information on your car as well, and exactly who you are. So you can do an account signing here, again, powered through Passport, account registration as well to set up information about your car. So clicking through to actually register your account, you have a make and model down here, and type in all the details, but you get the idea. So that way you can channel your information that's stored in MongoDB. And from there, sorry about this really bad. So then you can also send information as well, so you can get in touch by entering name, email, etc. And so this is sort of long-term approach, which is having different people who can help you out with your issues, your problems, or whatnot. And so that's the basic site functionality. In terms of then what we encountered, what we worked on, I'll let everybody walk through.
Hi, my name is Corey. I started with the basic wireframe of and design layout of the application. I incorporated everything's in React, the main page is all React, all the links and everything are all React. I incorporated CSS and a lot of SAS, which is really hard. It works, and also used a lot of API calls, JavaScript to pull the API calls. And that was pretty much it.
Well, I think maybe most of you know that right when we got into the planning stage and we're starting the coding, I got pulled away to another project, which was that my daughter was born, so I lost a lot of ground. Yes, she's lovely, but it really made my contribution to this a little challenging, and I just want to thank everybody who helped me jump back on the running train. Basically what I worked on was some of the client-side JavaScript that was grabbing form data through components and sending it to the YouTube API call, the Google Maps, which, as Chris alluded to, was such an enormous headache to run Google Maps in a React application, just because Google Maps, the way that it renders and the way that it wants to interact with the DOM is just not React friendly at all. There's any number of NPM packages where people basically bust Google Maps apart and turn it into all kinds of components, but then you're left with a big Lego kit to try to put together what your version of a Google Map is. So that's basically what I spent a week on. Yeah, that was really my big contribution to it.
Great. So I guess while the rest of the team was working on babies and front end, I was wrestling with Passport. That was the bane of my existence for about a week and a half. Big thank you to John for helping me get as far as it went in terms of getting integrated. I've learned online tutorials can be very unhelpful. Sometimes people like to show all this wonderful work they did and all this sort of complications, but it doesn't actually work for your application. So you're almost better going piece by piece and trying to pull information together as you go. Also, it was an interesting sort of microcosm in terms of everything we learned in this course, all the way from MVC models to Node to front end, back end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Node. I mean, all that goes into Passport. So it was sort of a great refresher, I would say, on a lot of things, even though it didn't make me terribly happy. And yeah, I think from there, in terms of where we want to go, I mean, you can tell from all the sort of moving parts here, we had a lot of plans in terms of how those would integrate together. Unfortunately, not all the components worked quite the way we wanted to. So really, we would love to have had an account page where it lists exactly what your car is. We were working with Edmunds to try to get their API to integrate service appointments, recalls, but they shut down their API. They told us 3 weeks after we applied for it. 2.5, I think it was. Yeah, 2.5. So we would definitely love to roll this out further in terms of getting a little bit more plugged in, and some of the styling components, making sure everything feels a little bit different. But overall, that's the project. Questions? Nobody wants to know why black smoke comes out of a Tesla, or why wood? No?
I don't think any smoke should come out of a Tesla.
Yeah.
It's a Tesla.
Okay, there it is.
paying attention.
I was. I almost said it while you were presenting, but I thought, oh, that would be good.